Indian economy and poverty. Indian economy has made major strides, reducing extreme multidimensional poverty to roughly 11% and general unemployment to around 5%. However, structural challenges persist as a large portion of the workforce remain trapped in low paying formal jobs. Formal jobs. What is the relationship poverty between poverty and unemployment in India? Poverty and unemployment in India are closely linked challenges. While extremely poverty rate has dropped significantly down single digits recent year. Overall joblessness, underemployment and formal work continue to affect millions of people across rural and urban areas. How much poverty in India 2026? India extreme poverty rate estimated between 2.3 and 5.3 based on recent consumption data and World Bank extreme poverty threshold 3.33 billion dollar. However, higher vulnerability threshold such as lower middle income line $4.20 place poverty rate close 23.9% roughly 342 million nearly a million people. Government reports emphasized that nearly 250 million people have escaped multidimensional poverty over the last scale decade. What are the 7 causes of the poverty? The 7 major causes of poverty: commodity, identified, global, development and economic studies, lack of education, unemployment, political instability and war, poor health system, unequal distribution of resources, environmental factor and corruption. What are 7 types of poverty? Poverty is split into 7 main types based social and economical conditions: absolute relate, situational, generation, rural, urban and structural. Multidimensional poverty. Each type describes different way people lack resources, money, support. Absolute poverty, relative poverty, situational poverty. Which state in India second poorest in 2026? What is the second poorest state in India? After Bihar, Jharkhand rank as the second poorest state in India with approximately 28-29 of its population below the poverty line. Where is the no first poorest country? What is the no first poorest country? Determining the number of one poorest country depends on the metric but used South Sudan and Burundi most frequently ranked as the number one poorest terms of lowest GDP per capita nominal PPP with average annual economic output personal remaining $3,000 to $450. How poverty is measured? GDP per capita. Purchasing power poverty. What are 10 ways to reduce poverty? Reducing poverty requires a combination of economic growth, social support, and equal access to basic human needs. Key strategies including expanding quality education, providing universal health care, creating for jobs, supporting local farmers, and implementing strong social safety nets. Core strategies to reduce poverty: improving education, Health, expand health care. Why are most people poor? Most people experience financial hardship due to systematic economic factor, the risk, the rising living cost, unequal initial advantage and low wages growth. These structural barriers make it difficult to build long-term security. Key economic factors: inflation, wages, compounding wealth gap. What are the types of poverty in India? Poverty in India mainly classified absolute poverty, lack of basic essential for survival, and relative poverty, income inequality compared to social standards. It is categorized geography in rural poverty and urban poverty as well as multidimensional poverty, which track health, education, and living standards. Core economic classified absolute poverty, a fixed universal threshold where people cannot afford basic needs like food, clean water, shelter. Indian traditional measures the wishing consumption expenditure. What are four main causes of poverty? Poverty is multifaceted issues that is caused by combination economic, environment, social and political poverty. What is rural poverty? Rural poverty state of severe economic disadvantage and lacking basic life essential experienced by people living non-urban country driven by isolated geography. Initiated job option outside framing. Key features: low economic, earning below line need basic food, clean water and shelter. Which how do we reduce poverty in India? Producing poverty in India requires mix of fast economic growth, job creation, better schools, hospitals, and strong social safety needs. Key steps include boosting farm and non-farm work, improving rural infrastructure, and expanding financial inclusions and welfare programs. Boost jobs and economy, create more jobs, modernize farming, grow local business. Where is extreme poverty most common? The vast majority of these extreme poverty reside in sub-Saharan Africa. As of 2026, it is estimated that country with most people living extreme poverty, DRC 76.2 million, in fast the vast majority of the world population. What are 5 points of poverty? United States Sustainable Development Goal 5 crore outcome target: end poverty to all forms. These focus eradicating extreme hardship, expanding social safety nets, securing equal economic rights, and building community resilience against disasters. Why do poor people suffer? Poverty can also limit access to educational and employment opportunities, which further contributes income inequality and perpetuates cyclical effects of poverty. Unmet social needs, environmental factors, and barriers to accessing health care contribute to worse health outcome of people with lower income. Why do poor people live? The social aspect of the poverty may include lack of access of information, education, healthcare, social capital, political power, relational Well, poverty is also ideal social poverty exists if there is a lack of human relationship. What are the different types of poverty? The two main types of poverty, absolute poverty and relative poverty. Absolute poverty means person lack the money for basic human survival, while relative poverty means a person has less money than average standards of living in the society. Definition: a state where a person cannot afford basic needs like food, clean water, safe and shelter, medical care. What is the cycle of poverty? The cycle of poverty is self-perpetuating chains of events where low income leads to poor health, limited education, low paying jobs. Low paying jobs. The poverty cycle: family poverty, child grows up poverty, insignificant, designated in education and skills, fall to escape the poverty caste. Cycle of poverty assignment point. Breaking the cycle poverty, start to be family, తర్వాత feast the cycle to broken, avoiding future, empowerment of the business and promote and economic poverty. Relative poverties. What are the seven main causes of poverty? Poverty stems from complex economical, social and environmental factors. Key derives include lack of education, war and conflict, inequality and discrimination, poor healthcare system, climate changes and natural disaster, lack of clean water and unemployment or low wages. Low wages. What is the cycle of the poverty?